Hey folks, and welcome to the Shut Up and Do It podcast, the place you can come and hang out with us while we go through all things real estate with a focus on bringing you top quality topics and speakers, all who believe in a get it done manner. I'm your host, Nick Aalerud, creator of the Complete Deal Flow System and a principal with AA Real Estate Group, along with my partner and co-host, the Deal Flow expert, sales trainer, the lead gen machine, the leader of the Solutions Group, the broker, and the Esquire, Robbie Retzel. What's up, Rob?
I'm doing well. I still cannot get over that introduction that you do every single time we have a podcast here. But I'm really excited for today's guest. I mean, if you don't know Brian Ortins, he's done a huge number of things. He's only been in the business for full time for about 3 years. He runs a real estate team. He's got a construction company. He's got an HVAC company. He's got Orton Capital Partners. He embodies Shut Up and Do It. So I'm excited.
I'm pretty stoked too. And I mean, Brian, we don't want to take any thunder away from you. The first big question we'd have for you is kind of, why real estate? What brought you to where you are today? Tell us your story, man.
Thanks for the intro. So a little bit about me. Coming out of college, I knew I didn't want to do the 9 to 5. So I knew I had to find another way. Although I didn't start off in real estate, I actually went into the franchise model. I owned a Quiznos sub-franchise in North Beverly, and it was a lot of fun working 90, 100 hours a week and never seeing family and friends. And it doesn't matter how hard I worked, I felt like the paycheck never reflected my time. But always knew that I wanted real estate, and just knew that back in 2005, 2006, the market was, in my opinion, overheated, and I had no real estate experience. So kind of kept putting off the purchasing at that time, and got in, figured I was going to make a lot of money in the restaurant business, which was not the case. And so at least I got a lot of experience working and managing people. Working in a nickel and dime business, you get to learn a lot about managing expenses, and that's translated for me in real estate. So fast forward, I did that for about 6 years. I didn't renew my contract, decided to move on, and stumbled upon Bigger Pockets, for those of you who know Bigger Pockets, and just probably spent, every night from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. just reading and listening. And what I've always liked about these podcasts and why I wanted to be on one is you just tend to learn a little bit from everybody that's on them, and you apply those to your own business. And I felt that that's propelled me in the last few years to grow a bigger business and think bigger. So in between the restaurant and getting to real estate was just a couple of, I did some management for Starbucks and got some experience there. And then I took on some project management construction roles. I had a little painting and flooring business in the meantime. So just knew that I wanted to learn the construction side to invest in real estate. Got licensed in the meantime during that time. And I jumped on with a commercial contractor, and I had the experience of building a Hilton hotel. So that's an interesting story in itself. So building all of that experience allowed me to rehab properties and grow into a construction company. We now have an HVAC company, have a capital partners group, property management, construction, and obviously it's all based around the agency. So I have a team in which we do traditional buying and selling of real estate, but with a special focus with investors. So we meet investors from all over the world, and now starting to network and build relationships with foreign investors as well.
Pretty much sums it up. No, Brian, I mean, when you were listening to those podcasts between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., that was before kids, I assume.
Nope, I had kids. That was while they're sleeping. So that was a perfect time to jump in. Everyone's asleep in the household. Went in a different room, and just instead of watching TV, I decided to apply it to learning. So that was something that I recommend. Is education's the most important part. To this day, I still have to at least read an hour a day, and whether it's a blog article regarding real estate, whether it's a book, and also podcasts every day, whether I'm driving or shaving or whatever, I always have a podcast on in the house, which not everyone else in the household enjoys as much as I do, but I always have them on.
Oh, I know that. Yeah, my daughter can't stand podcasts.
They've been instrumental, though.
When do you sleep, though, man? 10 to 2? I mean, do you sleep at all, or you...
If you ever look at the times on my emails that I send you guys, you'll notice that they're at all hours of the day and night.
Yes.
So one thing I always joke about is I go 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, but I intentionally am able to schedule time off with family and friends, and real estate's afforded me the ability to control my lifestyle And to me, it's not a job every day. I actually, if I'm not working, I'm excited to get back to work. So that's been huge for me to grow in real estate. To this day, it's not a job for me.
Work hard, play hard, right? That is incredible. Yeah. We share a couple emails back and forth, 12:30, 1 in the morning. So once in a while, Yeah. Brian, when you started getting into the point where you're like, okay, real estate's really for me. I already got the construction management aspect. I've got, this brokerage aspect down. I've got this rehab aspect down. When was the moment when you knew you needed to kind of scale or bring on people to help you with that? Like what went through your head, or how did you get to that level?
So it basically, I read a lot of articles and again, listened to podcasts where they said, first thing you should do is hire an assistant. But being a systems guy now, I was not always a systems guy. So I thought that in the beginning, I was going to save a ton of money and become a millionaire by doing everything myself. Yep. And I quickly learned that one person working even 80 hours a week cannot accomplish what 10 people working 30 hours a week can accomplish. So I'd say a year in is when I formed the team, and I've gone through a bunch of people on the team and made some changes. And what I've learned in business is that I like everyone personally, but not everyone is a fit for my businesses. So what I mean by that is you want to hire slowly and fire quickly. And you have to stick to what your philosophy is, your principles are. And I have high expectations for everyone on my team, the same expectations I set on myself. So that's been important. I used to let people kind of try to do their own thing and assume that it was all going to work out in the end. But what I found was I like to build systems with my team and hold everyone accountable to maintaining those. And I'm trying to think of a specific example, but it's really, to me, the communication is a big factor. And if someone is assigned something to do, that they do it in a timely manner. As you guys know, in real estate, deals don't wait for people. So hence why I'm still working sometimes 10 at night and catching up on emails and everything in real estate, in my opinion, is time sensitive.
What is the sort of type of tools you use now, Brian? So when you started kind of bringing on people and, like you said, setting expectations, which is tremendously huge. I think people appreciate that too, right? Do you think people appreciate where you kind of let them know what is expected? Otherwise, they're kind of floating around and they don't really know if they're making you happy. They're not making themselves happy. I don't know.
Yeah. So what I found was everyone tells you what you want to hear. But the reason why you set those expectations is you know who's going to really do it and who's not going to do it. So when I'm firm with people on the team, the ones that react positively are the ones that are going to make it. The ones that take it negatively are the ones that are never, ever going to change and never going to be an asset to the team. That was an important realization for me, is because I like to help everyone and I like to give. But at the same time, I wasn't getting much back, and people didn't feel like, they just felt it was a one-sided relationship. And you guys know me, it's all about win, win, win all the way around. Every party in the transaction or on a team has to win in that transaction. If it's one-sided, whether it's in my favor or someone else's favor, someone is not going to be happy. So it's important to keep everyone happy on the team, set those expectations, and just kind of vet them out to see if they're able to do what you expect of them. So if I expect someone to work 7 days a week with looking at property, analyzing property, or whatever their role is in the team, it's because I will do that as well. So I expect people to do what I will do. And some people will look at it, no, it's more of a 9 to 5 to me. Well, that's not really the right person for my team. To answer that second part, sorry, Nick, is you had asked about tools. So what we've created was we have a basic website right now that we're retooling, but I've told you guys this before. We use a software called Todoist, Todoist.com. And I saw in a past episode where you mentioned, what's the best thing you bought for under $100? So I pay $29 a year for this subscription to Todoist.com. And essentially, you guys can look it up, but it basically is a platform where I can enter my schedule. I can also assign tasks to other people on my team. So today, if I have to go drop off an offer at an office or pick up a check, and I'm on this podcast right now, before I jumped on the podcast, I assign tasks to other people on my team, and they can comment on it. They can check it off as done. We can even link Google. So we use G Suite. So you can link actual documents to Todoist. So it's basically a platform. I can forward emails and create them into tasks. So for this podcast, I forwarded from my email into my inbox, and I was able to make a task. So today, before coming on the podcast, I was able to click on it, and it took me to that email, and I was able to log on all from one platform. So it's a very organized set of tools, and that's how I manage all of my entities from one location. So instead of making 100 calls, I could simply just check in on the tasks that are happening, and I can comment. So for example, there's a task, call the plumber today for XYZ property. And if I don't see it checked off today, I could comment at the end of the day, was this completed today? Did something happen? And I can keep tabs on things that are kind of falling through the cracks and reminding people in the team to follow up with something. So it's almost like a 30,000 foot view of all my companies from one location that I could do from anywhere in the world. So we travel to Europe every summer. We go different locations, and I can essentially work from any location in the world using this platform with an internet connection.
That's incredible. I have a kind of a personal question from my own stuff. So you guys know, I mean, we also kind of have the Edible Arrangements franchise. We have the Huntington Learning Center franchises. We've got things that are not even in the industry. And I have found it extremely challenging to bring both business partners and staff onto like a one portal system. You know what I mean? I mean, did you come across any sort of challenges like that when you were kind of jumping on to finding the best platform for you guys?
So it's always a challenge to get someone to use it, but once they use it and they see the value of it. So what we started doing was hosting sort of a tech day where I brought people in. So everyone from a manager of my company down to a regular employee has, and I pay for that annual subscription for everyone, and they have access to it. And I found that people actually like using that, and they feel more part of the company because they're seeing. And the other thing too to mention is you can select what they see from that entity. So maybe I want my partners to have access to, I don't know, corporate documents or sensitive information, but I can create they call it a project for a specific location that we're rehabbing that only that my lower level employees or my subcontractors can see and use. So it keeps me on track of what I should be doing. What I found was the ones that you tend to forget are the low level tasks. Just a simple, if you ask me to do something on this podcast, I would type it in as we're going and it would remind me to do it at a later date. So I probably have about 100 to 200 tasks per day. And it sounds like a lot, but that just tells me how many tasks we're not getting accomplished prior to the software.
Brilliantly said, man. I mean, talk about gold, right? I love that stuff. Brian, that's awesome that you're managing from afar, right?
Yes.
Speaking of vacations and stuff, I mean, where are you headed? What do you love to do in your free time?
Yeah, so we try to do some family activities during the week locally, but every summer we have a summer house in the Azores. For those of you that don't know where that is, you can look it up on a map. It's basically 9 small islands that are associated with Portugal, and my parents are from one of those islands, so we bought a summer home there, and it's a great place to vacation. It's a pretty popular place now. So for those of you who are on Facebook with me, and our Facebook friend will see a lot of the posts from there. And it's a great spot in the summer. We have a lot of fun every year, and a lot of friends and family from the U.S., Canada, they all gather there in the summer, so you get to see people that you don't see normally.
So, Brian, obviously you've rehabbed houses, you've done new construction, you have the property management company, you're raising private capital for a lot of these projects.
Yes.
Where do you think we are right now in the market cycle as far as, is there more room to go up? Is it I just want to know your thought. I try to ask everybody this question just to get a sense of where we think we are.
Yeah, it's a great question. So having exposure to all the different types, where it's the real estate agency, the rehabbing side. So what I see still currently is there are more buyers than inventory.
Yeah.
So for me, the basic law of supply and demand says that there's still room to grow. The last 3 weeks, we had an open house every weekend, and each one of those we got into the contract for over asking. Mm-hmm. So that to me tells me that there's still some room to grow. And I think some of those open houses, we had over 80 people.
Yeah.
So there's still some room there. And I guess it depends on the asset class. in my personal opinion, and what I've studied from past markets, is the luxury market tends to go first.
Yep.
So I'm keeping an eye. We're doing a luxury project right now in Danvers, so that's going to be a firsthand experience of that market. But I just know from locally here, we have buyers that are in the higher price points, and there's still not that much inventory at that price point. So I think there's still some room to grow. I mean, I guess I don't look at it as timing. A lot of the assets that we buy have multiple exit strategies. So we could, if we did think that the market was going to soften, we could sell our multifamilies that we're going to condo to an owner-occupant that are willing to pay market. We obviously have a lot of rental properties as well. So to be honest, in a declining market, we're set up to basically make money in both types of markets. We'll buy more rentals in a declining market where we're going to keep rehabbing in a climbing market.
Yep. No, absolutely. Yes, you're set up to kind of capitalize on no matter where we are in the market cycle. It's awesome. Cool.
At least I think so.
I think pretty much everything that you just mentioned, I share that mindset. I mean, Robbie, what do you think?
What do I think as far as
the whole market where we're at? Do you agree with Brian, what he said, or do you have different thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely correct on the inventory and buyer assessment. There's no inventory at all, and there's a lot of buyers. I'll definitely give you that. That's cool. I don't know. I mean, I think it's just hyper local as usual, right? The farther you get out of Boston, the slower it kind of is. But you're definitely right about the luxury market tends to slow down quicker. We're seeing that in some markets now. But yeah, I mean, luxury is obviously different, and that price point's different, depending on the city that you're even looking in. So some cities it's 800 plus is luxury, and others that's like almost entry level. So you just don't know.
Brian, what projects are you pretty excited about right now? Like, what's on your plate that you're super excited to work on every day?
So I guess in terms of rehab, is we have that first luxury deal that we're doing in Danvers. So it's a little over 3,000 square foot property with a pool, and we literally knocked out every wall on the first floor, made it a complete open concept home. Nice. So it's a different type of product. So the numbers are probably less. So you're putting up more money to make less, but it's just an exciting project for us to try to break into another market. I know some of your past guests have gone into more of the luxury homes. I can't say that I'm comfortable in that market, but it's something that I like to try everything once. And if it fails, at least like I say, I tried it and I know that it's not something that'll work versus just making an assumption without trying. I think that's something that everyone should take, is you have to try everything. If you think that that's something that you want to learn, what better way than hands-on education versus reading a book? I think that's been important for me, and again, maybe I'm more apt to taking a gamble than someone else, but it's paid off well for me.
We strayed into the luxury world 4 or 5 times now because we were totally sexed by it. Like, oh, wow, 13 acres on the beach in New Hampshire. Look at this beautiful house. Every time, man, I get my butt handed to me every single time. Just because, you know what, it's for me, it was because I get so romanced by the idea of that I bent my rules. I bent my own buying criteria, I learned that lesson every time. Do not bend the rules, right? Don't make it a movable or adjustable spreadsheet. It is what it is.
Exactly. That's great advice.
When you jumped into the multifamily world, did you already know you were going to have the property management side covered, or was that kind of, all of those were kind of just descended from your idea to jump into rentals?
No, I'm glad you brought that up. So it all started with the agency. So I knew that I wanted to get licensed and help buyers and sellers and focus on investors. That was right from the beginning. So a lot of these other businesses came up just as a byproduct. So it all started with being a licensed real estate agent. Then I was helping multifamily buyers in Central. So I ended up, for those of you that know, I have a second office in Leominster. And so just happened to just choose that area and decided I want to focus on a lower cost area that I can essentially learn and dominate that area. So we bought a lot of multifamilies with, I call them passive investors. So they have full-time jobs, not in real estate, something else, and they want to put their excess cash and invest it in real estate. So what happened was we were buying property out there. Before we closed on anything, multiple investors said to me, well, do you have your own property management company? Because I want to manage these and I don't know anyone out here. Right. Would you manage them for me? And to be quite honest, at that time, it was not something on my radar. It was not something that I was, I knew the concept behind it, but not the day-to-day management of it. So it's something that I put together quickly and learned, and now built out a system where we have a full-time property manager, we have a full-time office manager, and they do a great job out in that market. So we're able to manage almost 100 units right now. We'll probably be somewhere close to 200 units by the end of the year. And our investors are happy and they want to buy more with us out there. So initially we were going to spread out all over the state and try to dominate Massachusetts. But as you guys know, it's a lot better to kind of concentrate on one area, grow that area, and then decide if you want to move on to another area. So we're focused in that Leominster, Gardner area, and there's no reason for us to go elsewhere until, for whatever reason, we feel that we can expand.
Right.
That's
nice.
Awesome. I know we're approaching the end of our time together, but if is there one big tip you can kind of throw to a lot of the newer investors that might be out there listening to this?
Yeah, so for me in the beginning was really networking, and I know Nick, you played a big part in that with Black Diamond for me in the beginning, and I spent a lot of time networking, not as much now as I should, but I'm trying to get back, and so what I do now is I network a lot on Bigger Pockets, and for anyone even listening as well, I always invite people to come to my office, and just whether or not you have a relationship with other investors or other agents. To me, it's really just, I was telling Rob this earlier, it's you do the right thing every day, and money is a byproduct of that. So if I can help people out, I find that they tend to come back to me in some form or another, whether it's to partner on a deal or whatever it may be. Just I like to help other people out, and I feel like everyone wins in the long run by helping each other out versus seeing everyone as competition. That's important for me.
Awesome. How do they get a hold of you, Brian?
So the best way to get a hold of me is I'll give you my direct cell. It's 978-979-5007, or my email, brianortins@ortinsgroup.com.